The hip internal rotators are a neglected muscle group, and most people's hip internal range of motion is poor because of our lifestyle and exercise habits. Unfortunately, this can lead to knee pain and injuries. In this video, you'll learn why and 3 exercises to improve their strength and mobility. Hey, it's Coach E here from Precision Movement, and I'm here with another video to help you get back to and keep doing the active things you love. So if that sounds good to you, make sure you hit the subscribe button and turn on the notifications bell, because we have a unique approach and unique exercises that you probably won't find anywhere else. So hit that subscribe button so we can stay connected. In today's video, we're talking about the movement of hip internal rotation and targeting and strengthening those muscles. And these are neglected muscles, and it's a neglected range. One, because whoever thinks, oh, I'm going to the gym today and I'm going to work hip internal rotation. Pretty much nobody. And 2, a lot of our lifestyle habits contribute to losing strength and losing this range of motion. One, for example, is sitting, whether you cross your legs or you like to mansplay. When we do that, our hips are in external rotation, so we're going to lose that range of hip internal rotation because our muscles and our body adapts to what we do most of the time. And 2 is standing. We can stand here with our toes out, just loafing around, or if we can even walk. A lot of people walk with their toes out. So again, it's use it or lose it. We're always using this external rotation, so that's going to get strong, and we're going to lose the hip internal rotation. Now, with respect to the muscles, there are a bunch of different muscles involved that can contribute to hip internal rotation. But what it's most important to know is where you'll be feeling the exercises, where you want to feel the exercises when we get to them in a second. So one area is over here. It's the outer hip and kind of deep. That's the anterior fibers of glute medius and glute minimus. And 2, it's kind of high and short adductors. So pectineus, adductor brevis, those muscles can be activated with hip internal rotation. So those are the areas that you want to focus on right around here when you're doing these exercises. Now, why is this such an important topic? Well, I've been working with a bunch of tennis players with knee pain right now, and one common factor is a lack of hip rotation. So if you have knee pain, the hip rotation range of motion is an area that you really want to take a look at, because if you have to rotate, tennis players are always rotating when they're hitting and even when they're serving, and they land on that leg, and there's that rotation, internal rotation force they have to absorb. If you don't have that rotation, all those forces are going to go through the knees. And the knees are the victim of a lack of hip rotation. The knees aren't designed for hip rotation or for rotation. They're designed more as a hinge joint, flexion, extension. The hips are supposed to do all of the rotating. And if they're not doing it, the knees are going to take the brunt of that missing strength and mobility there at the hips. So that's a big reason why hip rotation is so important if you've got knee pain. It can also contribute to hip problems, lumbar spine problems, but the knees are a common area that gets damaged when you lack hip internal rotation. In this video, we're going to train them with 3 different exercises, and we're going to go through different positions. So from 0 degrees to 90 degrees of hip flexion. And that's really important because the muscles that I talked about earlier, have a different moment arm from here to here. So their leverage, their ability to exert force on the hip joint changes to the degree of hip flexion that you go through. And this is illustrated really nicely in a study that I refer to often titled Kinesiology of the Hip, a Focus on Muscular Actions, which was published in the Journal of Orthopedic and Sports Physical Therapy in 2010. And what they do is they show the moment arms of the different muscles and how much force they could potentially exert on the joint, on the hip joint during different movements. So in this image, you can see this is a graph that shows the difference from 0 degrees to 90 degrees of hip flexion and how much moment arm the gluteus medius anterior fibers have. So the anterior fibers are the internal rotators of the gluteus medius. And as you can see, from 0 degrees, the moment arm is very low, whereas at 90 degrees of flexion, the moment arm is very high, indicating that it could exert a much greater force at 90 degrees. And they show that it's almost an 8 times increase in leverage at 90 degrees of flexion. The first exercise we're going to train them with is the hip axial rotation. And with this one, I do both internal and external rotation. And we're going to do it in 3 positions: low, medium, and then high, which is about 90 degrees of hip flexion. All you're going to do is put your knee in the wall. Now I'm not really leaning into the wall. I'm just placing the knee on the wall. Keep my knee at about 90 degrees there of flexion. And we can start off with internal rotation and focus on that area that I just talked about earlier. Lateral out here and anterior and high adductors over here. And you picture the thigh rotating. Keep the support leg strong. Hold it for 5 to 10 seconds and don't hike the hip. Don't close this area down. And then you can go to external rotation. Again, focusing on the thigh rotating like so. And trying to get deeper in the range, even though you're not moving at the end range. 5 to 10 seconds, go to neutral, and then raise that knee up to the mid position. Same thing. Foot out, rotating the thigh this way. Feeling the muscles on the outside and the front of the hip contracting, and think of sucking the thigh into the pelvis. That'll help you to get better range of motion and better movement, more centrated, aligned movement. Go to external rotation, we'll work them both. 5 to 10 second holds. The key is to try to get deeper into the range. Keep activating those muscles. Keep sucking the thigh into the pelvis. And that's how you'll build strength. Then you go to 90 degrees. Don't worry about how much your foot moves out. It's the feeling of the right muscles and not hiking the hip too much. And then external rotation. Holding 5 to 10 seconds, breathing, stay tall. Control yourself down. Put the foot down, and then you can switch sides. So that hip axial rotation, that's going to work those muscles and the different muscles depending on the position of the hip, which is why it's such a great exercise to wake up the hip internal rotators and the external rotators to start to restore their strength and their range of motion. The second exercise we're going to go through is the 90-90 lift-off. Now, I've seen a lot of people do the 90-90 position, and the exercise they like to do is this rotation, switching back and forth. That's okay, but if we're trying to really target the muscle to build strength and to get a clean movement pattern, the technique that I'm going to show you is better. Now, why is this beneficial? One is we're going to be in this hip abducted position. So my knee is like that when I'm in the 90-90. So again, we're training these muscles in different positions of the hip, and that helps to build a full range of strength and control. Get into the 90-90 position, like so. Open up, and you can settle here for about a minute. Some people have trouble getting into this position. So just settle down, breathe, relax, kind of move around a little bit. Your upper body, your torso, lean back. Just try to settle the muscles. And you might feel some cramping and some discomfort when you do these exercises in the muscles we're targeting. That's because they're at the shortened range of motion and they don't know how to work properly. So we just got to work them and teach them how they should function in this range of motion. So once you're settled, if you can do it with your hand supporting you like this, or even up tall, which is harder, no support, then cool. But if you have to go down like this onto your elbow just to get the foot off the ground, then do so. I'm going to do it right here with my hand supporting. So from this position, stay tall, good posture, hip is settled down, and then you're thinking thigh rotation, ankle off the ground, foot off the ground. Again, the muscles here and in here, less so in here, more so out here for this position. Trying to continually drive the ankle to the ceiling and rotate the thigh. Focus on the thigh rotation, not so much the foot actually. Focus on rotating the thigh, hold for 10 to 15 seconds, and slowly return the foot to the ground. And then gradually relax the muscle. We like that ramping, we teach that all the time, and the slow control so that you can work and build strength and control through every degree of that range of motion. So again, it's very simple. Suck the thigh into the pelvis. That cue is really important when activating these deep hip muscles. And then lift the foot off the ground, focusing on rotation of the thigh. Feel the muscles in here. Hold it for 10 to 15 seconds. Keep trying to get deeper into the range. Keep breathing naturally. And slowly lower to the ground and gradually let the muscles go. For this technique, you can perform 2 sets on each side, working anywhere from 3 to 6 repetitions, and that'll get these muscles going in this different hip position. The third and final exercise we're going to go through today is a closed chain exercise. So we're standing on the ground and we're internally rotating the body over a stable leg. It's called the cable hip internal rotation. For this technique, you'll want an exercise band set up approximately belly button level. And you want to take an athletic stance. So feet a little bit wider than shoulder width apart, and just a little partial squat here. Good posture, nice and tall, so that you're training a stance and a position that you would take in sport. So if you're a tennis player, soccer player, whatever it is you do on your feet, you need to be in somewhat of an athletic stance, or it's better to be in an athletic stance. With your foot, you're going to be working this hip. This foot, you want that active arch. So I've talked about that in many previous videos. Short and skinny foot is one way to think about it. It's think about the metatarsals or the forefoot together, make them skinny, and make it short. Pull them towards the heel. And the toes should be fairly relaxed when you do that. So we create that active arch, and we're training the pattern that we need to stay healthy and athletic. From here, you want to start just activating the internal rotators a little bit. So you can do this, bring the toes up off the ground actually, and just pivot so you know what that internal rotation feels like. Activate at end range. You feel all those same muscles activated. Outer hip here, adductors, high adductors in here. So once you have that, that's the same motion that you're going to do with this foot on the ground, except it's not going to be moving. It's going to be stationary. So I activate that internal rotation, and I'm going to use that to pull me around this way. And I keep that the whole time, there and back. The back foot pivots, and all the motion is through this hip. It's created from this hip. Hold it for 5 seconds at the end, and then go back under control. Keep that muscle group, the internal rotators, on the whole time, back and forth. Again, one more rep I'll do here. Just so you can see good posture, breathing naturally, always activating those internal rotators. So you've got to have that mind to muscle connection there. Okay, so for that exercise, you could do 2 sets, 2 to 3 sets, and anywhere from 4 to 6 repetitions is good. And this is necessary, again, if you're an athlete, whatever sport you play, if you do it on your feet, you want this internal rotation to come from the hips so that it doesn't go through your knees and wreck your knees. Those are the 3 exercises I've got for you today. So hopefully they've been illuminating, and now you understand how important it is to have good hip mobility, specifically rotation, to keep your knees healthy. I've got a few more exercises that you might like to check out. Videos up here and here, other hip internal rotation exercises for you. And if you have knee pain, the thing I recommend most is the Knee Pain Solution Program, because I walk you through a progressive, multi-phase program that includes exercises like this, but in the right order and with the right volume, sets, reps, all that stuff. So you can check that out and learn more about it here. And if you decide to sign up, I look forward to hearing about your positive results soon.